Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and children of all ages. I love when it goes, oh, hallelujah, yes, let there be light. I love when it goes, when you say you're going to go live, and it goes 3, 2, 1. And you're in this professional studio with the lights and the cameras and everything's soundproof. That's not here. You may hear a bus go by. Yesterday, I wondered why there was this noise that was constant for a while. It was my air conditioning unit. And the man upstairs walks a little loud. Great man. But, God, he walks loud. So if you hear thumping, it's upstairs. If you're celebrating Passover, I hope it's wonderful. I was raised as an Orthodox Jewish girl. My father was a kosher butcher. So we changed out those dishes, and we were really strict in my house. Jeffrey was Reformed, and we celebrated as a Reformed Jew. It was more palatable. But when we moved to Boca, we didn't have a congregation like we did in Houston. We were a big Temple Emmanuel in Houston, very active for 11 years. But when we moved to Boca, we didn't have a synagogue. So it was the first Passover in Boca, and we went out for pizza. We didn't have any guilt at the time. But the next morning, I remember us waking up and looking at each other and going, checking our bodies for boils and locusts in the house, or something awful, because we had broken a tradition. But we lived, and the holidays are rough. I spent today at my church, beautiful service, and I went up to my best friend Rob Scott's house in West Palm Beach. If I have any advice to give any of you, cherish your friends. Don't take them for granted. Somebody once said, a stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. You don't know who's coming along. So again, I thank you. And I was also reminded today that just because somebody views, they could have been on for 5 minutes and said, this is not for me. I don't blame you. If I had to listen to me all the time, I wouldn't be for me either. And it is me, but women, you know what I say when we have a bad hair day, put a wig on it. We've made great progress over the past 2 weeks plus, I think, to encapsulate and summarize. I want to say thank you. Thank you all. See if I can get my glasses on through this. Oh, I did. Jeez. Hi, Lucy. So anyway, we started number 1. I want to say thank you all. We started number 1, the preface where the journey began. I know I'm making progress because I'm having to fold pages down and label things, and it's going forward. The preface was the journey begins. Chapter 1, a honeymoon in Spain, where Jeffrey tells me he thinks he's gay. Okay. Chapter 2, the fear factor. And that was probably the first one that I said many of you are going to deal with at some point. You're going to be afraid of something. And you know that. Fear is a natural reaction to something that's you don't like. But you're going to experience fear. Not my fear, but your fear. And we all are going to have them. Chapter 3 was choosing celibacy to protect myself and knowing that Jeff might become HIV positive because of his promiscuity. And it being in the 80s, in 81 when I heard about AIDS, that's what I did. We chose celibacy in our marriage. We did everything else, but celibacy saved my life. Chapter 4 was the dreaded diagnosis. And many of you are going to have those in your life. It's the way it is. Mine happened to be, Jeff was gravely ill. He was diagnosed, full-blown AIDS, and put in the hospital. Up until then, you pretty had a good rounded picture of our relationship up until then. From gay, and then AIDS came in 81, and celibacy was my choice. The diagnosis, he was positive and had full-blown AIDS. Chapter 5, I think, was, to me, the most important so far. Well, they're all important to me. Who am I kidding? They're all important. I wrote this book. It's my life. They're all important. Chapter 5 was no more lies. I firmly believe that that's a big one, because you're all lying about something in your life. You're all denying, you're all lying, you're all pretending. Don't pretend. You tell enough lies, you don't know who you're lying to. This is the chapter we're in. It's called Why Me? Chapter 6, for any of you who are following along, or if there are that couple hundred people that actually bought my book. Why me? You're going to learn a lot more about not just our relationship, but my internal structure, my components, the faith I had or didn't have at times, or the hope I had or different at times, the challenges I tested myself. So the Why Me is chapter 6. And I'm going to back up again to why the Why Me's were so difficult. They were the worst, because that's why I was so angry and I was so volatile and frustrated, because I always was saying, why me? My first big, and again this is in chapter 6, it's time to finally say goodbye to the quote, the why me factors in my life. The first why me question I asked myself was, why did I get pregnant? If it hadn't occurred, we wouldn't have gotten married. We weren't lovers in love. We were best friends, made love one night. During that brief encounter, we got married. Our marriage was the only thing we could do. For the past 23 years, I've tried to understand the issue of why did this happen to me? But that made me more angry and resentful. And I hated myself, but I also hated Jeffrey more. So I couldn't find any answers to those why did I get pregnant questions. So now I said, why not me? Why not me? Doesn't this happen to millions of other women under the same circumstances? Maybe not your husband's gay, but you got pregnant before you got married. It's the reality. So I said, why not me? I'm not that special that it shouldn't happen to me. It did. So I'm glad I got pregnant, and I'm glad we got married. Quote, why not, Jeff? The second why me question that has tormented me for years was, why did you stay married to me? See, I told Jeffrey I would never divorce him. I would never leave him. But if he wanted to get out, he could get out. I wouldn't. No matter how rough it was, how many times I packed the bag, or how many times I sat in the car, drunk, trying to go somewhere, didn't know what to do. Nope. Why did he stay married to me? It wasn't that I was his security. I don't know. You were a bisexual man who wanted a gay lifestyle. So why did you remain with me all these years when you were sexually attracted to men? Why did you want me? What disturbed me even more was, why did I stay with you, and why couldn't we walk away from each other in that marriage? I asked myself these questions 24 hours a day, and we had a lot of arguments. Many times I'd scream, quote, why do you stay with me, and why can't you leave? And the more I asked these questions, the more my anger was. And again, I looked at this and started to say, we cared and we respected each other as friends should. We stayed together because this was the kind of relationship we were supposed to have. Accepting that enabled me to find my inner self and let go once and for all of the pain. Why? It happened. Why not me? Why not? I stayed with my bisexual husband, who had AIDS, who might die, and who was gravely ill at the time. Why not me? Again, I'm not that special. God just gave me this ability to handle it. This is my journey. He gave it to me. The Lord birthed me out. And this is the journey. Here's the third why me question. And again, I always say this is the most disturbing. But when you go with me on this journey, and that's what this is going to be a journey. You either want to stay on it with me or you don't. But everything, to me, I'll say this is the greatest, this is the most deep, this is the hardest, this is everything I did was always something like that. The third why me question, this is repetitive from yesterday, but I wanted you to know. The third why me question was the most disturbing one of all, and it caused me to hate my own existence and almost cost me my life. The question was, why did AIDS happen? Why did this horrible illness come along? And why did you have to get this disease? Why did you do this to yourself? And why did you do this to me? Again, I'm going to hate you for dying and leaving me alone. All I wanted was for you to be here with me, sharing our life and future together. Facing these why questions caused me the most pain and anguish I'd ever known. They made me want to die because I knew I'd still live after he was gone. 30 years later, folks. Different hair, same woman. Okay, I think this is it. How did I get rid? Here we go. This is where I got to start marking this. We're going to finish this up and talk about why God. Yeah, this is where I ended up. I get so involved in this, I lose track of time, I lose track of everything. How did I get rid of this why me pain and anger that almost drove me to kill myself? Yeah, I did. A couple of times I wanted to, and I just didn't have the courage to do it. The why me had to become the why not me. AIDS wasn't a curse, a plague, or a wrath from God. Men in white coats working in laboratories didn't invent this virus to kill gay men. It wasn't exclusive to drug addicts or prostitutes. It wasn't a disease sent down to earth as punishment for people's sins. AIDS is a disease. Like many others before it, this disease causes great pain and suffering. Unfortunately, like many others, it is fatal. Innocent people will get life-threatening diseases and die. Life isn't fair, and no one is exempt from it. Death is an unavoidable part of life. The why me person couldn't exist anymore. I wouldn't have been able to write my feelings down, and I wouldn't have been able to tell others. The why not me person is dealing with these questions and handling them. The why not me woman is getting stronger and feels more in control. Saying why not me has given me the courage to face my fears. I know that my life has turned out the way it was supposed to. As a why not me person, I'll make my own decisions and accept their consequences. I don't want to know why any longer, and I'll never let the why me question affect my life or cloud my judgment again. I think this is so important because you can feel sorry for yourself, you can have your pity parties, and your good friends will understand that there's times in your life that are going to be really hard. I know that. But you can't spend your life under the covers, in the dark, drinking yourself to sleep, popping drugs that are going to make you even crazier, or doing behaviors and doing things. Once you start saying, why not me? Don't you feel a release of freedom, of something that says, because life happens. Life throws you curveballs. Life tells you you're not always in control, even though you think you are. Life is life, and you cherish every moment of it. Along my journey, the only reason I'm not taking my glasses on and off is I'm afraid to put them in and out of my hairpiece here for fear I get stuck. Along my journey, I'll have to handle many more difficult decisions. We haven't even begun. And I know some of you are done right now. 5 minutes ago. I don't need to know about this on Easter. I don't need to know about this at all. That's good. Bye. And some of you want it. Some of you called me. Someone called me already. Some people are texting and emailing and telling friends. Good for you, maybe not good for them. It's all right. I'll have to handle many more difficult situations. I still am. Some of these experiences will only challenge me while others will alter the course of my life. My darling, remember, I'm writing a diary. I'm writing journals to him. My darling is 5 days into being ill in the hospital, and this is where I'm writing. My darling, I've finally come to terms with the 3 hardest questions I've wrestled with for 23 years. 1, why did I get pregnant? 2, why did you stay with me? And 3, why did you get AIDS and die? I had to learn how to deal. He was still alive, but again, I'm transposing my journals into my book. And I'm reflecting that even though I'm writing this, when I had to transpose them, it was over. I had to learn how to deal with these powerful issues in a way that was positive. Had to deal with these powerful issues in a way that was positive, or their destructive forces would have taken my life. It took me a long time to understand that, probably because I really didn't want to. My healing process began when I started to deal openly and honestly with my problems. Quote, life doesn't have to make sense to make sense. Oh, quote, end quote. That's wonderful. See, I have these little nuggets that I put out there, and they're really good. Life doesn't have to make sense to make sense. Excellent. Having a reason and purpose. Having a reason and purpose is good enough. I know in the future I'm capable of becoming a happier person. I accept the fact that I am totally responsible for my actions, choices, and conduct. No one can force or threaten me to do anything I don't want to do. They can try, but the why not me person won't let them succeed. I'll have many options in the future, and I'll make the decisions I'm supposed to make. Nothing in my life has been a mistake, and every decision I've made has been the right one. We both made sacrifices and compromised, so many times to stay in our passionate and tumultuous marriage. But, quote in caps, why not, end quote. We were supposed to, and the why not me, would do it all over again. See, that's what I'm writing about. I feel like, I know this is therapy for some, because it's helping you. See, they're talking out near the mailbox. What am I going to do? Go out there and tell them, be quiet, I'm doing a reading? No. We were supposed to, and the why not me would do it all over again. I don't have any regrets. I don't have one regret. I'm going to be 76 in May 4th, and I don't have any regrets. I might have made some other choices, but I don't have any regrets. I'm not angry at Jeffrey anymore. I don't get angry at people. I can get upset, or I may not like their conduct, but I'm going to treat people with respect, and if I can't, I'm going to just walk away, but I'm not going to blame people for my life. Whatever comes along, the issues I'm dealing with right now in my body at my age, and the choices I'm having to make about stuff, they're not easy, but they're my choices. And no one's going to force me to do it. Chapter 7, Saturday, June 27th, 1992. Boy, on this Easter and Passover weekend, this is interesting. It's a week now. Saturday, June, we're on Chapter 7 for those of you who might have my book. I said might because I gave a lot of them away. For those of you who might have my book, we're on Chapter 7. Is there a God? Saturday, June 27th, 1992. Dear Jeff, where has the past week gone? As I sit next to your bed today, watching you sleep, I know my prayers, boy, I'm going to get a little emotional, I think. I know my prayers have been answered. You have come through the initial crisis, and you are going to live. How wonderful to read this on Easter Sunday and Passover. You have come through the initial crisis, and you are going to live. I knew if anyone could have pulled you through this, you could. You had the finest doctors and medical care available. You also had an endless supply of love and support from your family and friends. His parents were wonderful. I went into that. They loved him. And the few friends we told and some business colleagues, he was very successful. But we had to not say AIDS. We just said he was in the hospital with pneumonia. So he had the finest doctors and medical care available. He also had an endless supply of love and support from his family and friends. But I personally felt that something much more powerful was helping you during this time. I honestly and unconditionally believed that your life was now in God's hands. Since there wasn't anything else anyone could do for you, I resigned myself to the fact that if you recovered, it was because, oh my God wanted it that way. Let me repeat myself. Since there wasn't anything else anyone could do for you, I resigned myself to the fact that if you recovered, it was because God wanted it that way. As I've done in the past and to the present, I put all my faith and confidence into my spiritual beliefs. I had to trust in God, and that faith gave me the strength, peace, and comfort I desperately needed now. If I hadn't done that, I would have failed us both. I know without any hesitation that a much higher power has guided and watched over us through this terrible time. Though I've been challenged and frightened many times during the past week, I felt that my God was with me, and I didn't feel alone. To this day, I think I will stop here because I really want to get into that. Well, no, I can do a little bit more. It's Easter Sunday. I'm having a good time. You know how difficult the religious aspect of my life has been for me to accept. I have always felt spiritually close to my own personal God, but I haven't been consistently faithful in my beliefs. This past year has tested my faith more than any other time in my life. As I watch this disease slowly take over your body, my religious convictions have been seriously challenged. I've been confronted with questions and issues I've never wanted to address before. I have been afraid to open myself up to feelings so intensely personal and private that I've never been able to talk about them to anyone. I never even shared my thoughts with you. Until this very moment, I wasn't sure what I could handle, what I could believe in, or if I could believe at all. Only through my writing, again I go back to the writing, only through my writing am I able to ask myself, quote, is this what the past year has been for? Is your illness the reason why I must finally deal with my fears and doubts concerning my spiritual beliefs? Has the time come for me to ask myself once and for all, do I really believe in God? Do I really believe in God? Has your illness forced me to take an honest look at my own mortality? This is an issue that has always been too frightening for me to personally address. This is where I'll stop, because this is going to reflect back the next time into my Jewish background and my upbringing. Stop. There you go. I think, again, I said this yesterday, if you don't, I can finally take the glasses off. Ooh, I can see. I think along the way I said yesterday, I'm just going to close on this. I think yesterday what I said was, if you don't have faith and hope and believe in something, I think you're kind of lost. And I may have some people out there. I know I have Christian friends and brothers and sisters, and I have Jewish brothers and sisters, and we could probably throw a few atheists and a few Buddhists and Muslims and everybody else into the mix, because I think at some time in your life, you have to have faith. You have to have hope. And you have to deal with yourself. And it's been hard. I can't tell you that the journey's been easy. I'd be lying. It's been hard. But I can't take it out on you. If I'm having a bad day, it's not your fault. But I know that God chose me for this assignment. He chose me to be able to be strong enough to handle this. He chose me as a woman to speak out about this to so many different assortments of people, different groups, different biases. The stigma around AIDS then, of course, was horrible. But to this day, there's still a stigma, and I speak about it. But what I really want to say is, please don't be so hard on yourselves. Cut yourself some slack once in a while. It's okay. It's called being human. But also, have some faith. Oh, Wendy Winnick in New York checked in. But I would say, though, that for those of you who have faith, that's great. For those of you who have hope, don't give up. And for all of you out there from Quebec and California and pastors and preachers, oh my goodness, I am preaching to the preacher. Just go on this journey and don't ask yourself, why me? Ask, why not me? Maybe you were chosen for this. Here come the children. I know I was chosen to see my story told to the world. I know I was chosen to speak about HIV, to speak about love and loss and moving on. God chose me for this. And I'm grateful, because I hope that my Lord and Savior up there is looking down on me, as Jeffrey is, and saying, well done, but don't stop. It's not over yet. So, I'm going to say, half an hour later almost. Shalom. Oh, I think I have to do this. Shalom, hello. Hello. Shalom. Goodbye. but maybe just for a little while. And shalom, peace. Share SusanMintz.com with friends. When I went up to Rob's today, we were moved that just Facebook friends could listen. No, I want everybody to listen. I want people you don't like to listen. I want family members you don't talk to listen. I want everybody out there to listen because you all know what I want. I want a serious, big one because I want to talk about God before the world. I want to talk about hope and faith and love and commitment. And I want to say shalom, peace. On this sacred weekend, may you try to find some peace in a world that's so chaotic and tumultuous, in a world full of chaos and disruption and despair and horror. Look at yourself in the mirror and smile. Find some peace. Call someone, tell them you love them, even if you don't. It's a good thing to do. Call someone, hug someone. Don't give up on your friends ever. And remember, a stranger is just a friend you haven't met. I love you. God bless all of you, and keep sharing SusanMintz.com because we are touching lives. God bless you. Have to hit finish. And then I still haven't found out the difference between a viewer and a view. A person who viewers or a person who views. A viewer might watch the whole thing. A view might just be 5 minutes. I'm getting a lot more views than viewers. But whoever it is, whatever you are, for whatever reason you're doing it, may God bless you and keep you. Shalom.